Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dunigan. And I know every so often on the show we mention like, oh, I feel old because I wasn't here, I did that. But the other day I did something I haven't done in a while just because it scares me now. I went into a hot topic.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say you went skateboarding or something like that because that scares me.
Oh, fuck no. No, I'm not.
I remember literally Kyle one time asked, like, it was a couple of years ago, he's like, dude, I'm getting back into skateboarding. You want to come join me? I'm like, no. No, I don't want to do that. I will watch professionals skateboard, but that is as far as I'm going.
Maybe like mid-20s, you might get that. Yeah, fuck it, let's do it. All right, you might get that kind of going again. But late 20s, a little bit more apprehensive. Like, oh, my leg hurts when it rains now. And then once you turn 30, you're just like, nope, sorry, I already got a shovel ready for my own grave. Nothing to speed it up. So,
yeah, exactly. I've pre-planned this, but I don't want to be there yet.
So it's one of those things where I remember, I don't know, I was with a few friends and we were walking through a mall and there's a Hot Topic. One of them wanted to stop in there for a second. I'm like, God, it reminds me that I'm old and I'm going to fucking die one day. I don't want to go in. All right, here we go. And it was surprising, one of those things where it actually kind of, it was more like mid-ground. Because remember when we were kids, we go into Hot Topic. That's all Hot Topic does, just Shane's for the next generation. When we go into Hot Topic, it would be bands, TV shows, anime, video games, whatever, of things we knew and things we liked at the time. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's some stuff we weren't into, but you know, it's whatever. But it was just like, oh wow, this is the only place I can get like a Street Fighter t-shirt or a Mario t-shirt or, oh look, they got Rolling Stones, they got Gorillaz, they got Soundgarden, all these kind of street t-shirts. Now you go in there, I'm like, I just get sensory overload when I walk in there. There's too many colors. At the same time, it's really dark, but there's too many fucking colors. Yeah. There's always some music. I don't know what the fuck it is. I'm like, and...
Well, I was going to say, even like the really old Hot Topic, because like, when we were like, still like, I guess like, grade school kids, Hot Topic didn't really have any of the video game stuff yet. It was literally, you just kind of, when it was there to scare parents, I feel, because you would go inside and it'd just be dark and there'd be some type of like metal playing or punk rock or something like that. And to get a job at Hot Topic, it used to be you had to have a certain amount of tattoos / piercings / you probably had to smoke. You know what I mean? You probably had to be involved in like some type of like satanic organization. It was like the only way to get a job there. So you'd go in and be dark and be looming and there'd be no color whatsoever except for black and silver maybe, because you'd have studs everywhere. And I just remember going in there because like most of it was all gothic stuff. That's all it was like punk rock, gothic, and all that stuff. But in the corner they would have, here's your classic rock section of Rolling Stones and I guess I had Soundgarden. I guess that would have been classic rock at that time period, but you could get like your Ozzy Osbourne t-shirt and your Led Zeppelin t-shirts and so on. And that's where I remember going as like a young kid. And then as they expanded, they started adding stuff in there. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they got video games now. Oh, they got some other stuff like that. But now you go into a Hot Topic, it's a completely different experience because now everything's like multicolored. Nobody's got tattoos or piercings, or if they do, they got one. There's like a hipster behind the counter. Like the music's like now like soft rock or something like that. And you're like, the fuck's going on here?
Well, here's the thing. I went in there, and half the shit I didn't know what it was. But the other half, it's like, don't worry, Grandpa. Don't be scared. Look over here. Look. There's some Batman shit. There's Rolling Stones. What's playing on the radio right now? That's Black Sabbath. Like, I know this. Okay, all right.
I like how it's like, don't worry, Grandpa. You're like, I'm 31. Yeah, you're pretty fucking old.
I might as well have been like fucking Robin Williams and Hook over there,
That's really the best experience, or the best, I think, feeling to describe it, is that, like, you are Robin Williams and a Hook, for sure. And there's a bunch of kids standing around like, come on, press us, old man.
Some kid with a fucking black and red mohawk comes skating in. He has a creepy pasta tattoo on his fucking wrist.
Yeah, exactly, like that. You're like,
so who's your best character in Fortnite? I don't know what the fuck just came out of your face. Old man! No, stop it.
It's like, don't you kids play Tomb Raider? No, we don't play old hag games. It's like, oh, okay.
That movie that came out a little bit ago? Like, well, I mean, there's more than the movie, but yeah.
Yeah, she's like really old, isn't she? Like, like 70 or something like that? Like the Queen of England? It's like, oh, well, not really close. I mean, she is from England, and she is probably richer than the Queen of England for some weird reason.
She's like, I think she's like 28, 29. Yeah, that's fucking old to me.
It's sort of like when you look at like the fighting games and you see like their birth dates in there, and this is what I always think about. It's like, okay, you take Street Fighter 2. It says Ryu was like born in like 1968, okay? But these times have kept going. Like, though we get older, he stays the same age.
Yeah, we were kind of like, so we're Matthew McConaughey and Street Fighter characters are high school girls?
I guess, because I was thinking about that like in the new Dead or Alive, and it says like Kasumi's 19. I'm like, bullshit, she's older than me, I know it. Don't you dare fucking tell me that stuff.
She's been 19 doing all this shit for the last like 20 years.
She was 19 in 1997. Don't give me that fucking shit that she's still 19.
I think they're like, like, she must remain young so we can sell the body dolls. That's not my Japanese accent.
I would love it if like Dead or Alive just came out like, you know what? Here's their real ages. We're just gonna go with it.
Then suddenly you gotta get people like, oh, you get people that would be angry because the whole not half the game, but half the reason why a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people play it is all the sex appeal shit. So like, oh man, she's like, she's no longer in the schoolgirl outfit. Yeah, people get older.
No, she's in the teacher's outfit. It's kind of weird.
No, there was... I was playing a little bit of... I'll get off topic. Anyway, I just want to say, I went to... one of the things that kind of, like, sort of, like, eased me back in... I'm not going to be going there frequently or anything, but I was like, oh, wow. I'm actually going to buy something from Hot Topic. There's, like, this Frank Miller... I think it's the issue 1000 cover of Detective Comics, and Frank Miller did it, and I think that's what this is. It's just, Frank Miller, angry Batman, looks like he was literally chewed up and spit out, and he has Carrie Kelly, like, hopped up on his back in a badass pose. I'm like, that's really cool, and I got it. And then somebody later sees the shirt, like, they're just kind of staring at it, and they're just like, because I'm thinking, like, yeah, it's Batman, it's Frank Miller, awesome. And then he's gonna, like, this guy's gonna say something, like, why does Robin look so weird? Like, oh, that's a different Robin. Oh, he's a redhead now? I look like, oh, I guess he does. I guess she does kind of look like a boy. So I just, to everybody else, you see this tattered, beat up old Batman with a pantsless boy with red hair crouched over him. So I go, okay.
Yeah, if you're not in the know, I can see that being kind of confusing.
So, yeah. So it's like, well, because I guess she has lips, but really, if you kind of look at it, like, I can still kind of see how people can confuse that. So, I'm like, I don't care. I like the shirt. I'm wearing it. I'm not in high school no more. I don't give a fuck if people think I'm wearing a shirt with a pantsless boy on it.
Yeah, who gives a fuck? The older you get, the
I
less
already got a
care.
girlfriend. I got a job. I'm fine.
Yeah, I live in America. Fuck you. Mm-hmm. That's how I kind of feel. But it is kind of fun every once in a while to step into those stores, though they are definitely like for a completely different like world. Not even generation, completely different world, but you can still find some cool stuff there every once in a while. You never know what you might discover in a Hot Topic. Stuff changes every day.
Well, it's weird because you just be walking through and like, oh, okay. It's one of those things because you'd be on one side looking at, okay, here's all the T-shirts of stuff I know or whatever. You turn around and suddenly there's like a woman's department to your back. It's like they put them like this one at least had them on different sides. So I'm like, okay, here's the wall with all like, video game comic stuff. I'm looking at it and I turn around and literally to my back is all this like other section, but there's like some girls shit on there. So it's like, am I in the right section? Am I in the women's section or is this, oh, okay. So then out of that, you're like, okay, Goku lingerie. That's something different.
Well, it used to be in the olden days, it split down the middle. It was like the woman's side's on the right, man's side's on the left. Don't you dare fucking get that confused.
Now they're trying to like mix it up. You're like, we want you to go hunting for it.
Yeah, exactly. They want you to weave through because they might go like, shit, you might be a guy, but you see a bra and it's got fucking Goku on it. And he's shooting a Kamehameha wave. You're like, fuck it, I'm getting it. I don't know when this will come in handy, but
It's gonna look cool over my bed. What? I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know when that's gonna come in handy, but it'll come in there some point. But yeah, it's always fun to see what you can find. Do they have any other of the Batman 1000 T-shirts? Because that's just kind of a cool idea if they just made all the covers and the T-shirts. This
was the only one that I saw. Beyond that, it was a couple. It was like I'll be honest, a lot of stuff on that side I didn't know, but then there is some stuff like, oh, okay, that's, of course there's some Rick and Morty shit, there's some other video games, some PUBG, some Fortnite, whatever the fuck, and then you're like, oh, okay, well here's Shazam, here's some Marvel stuff, okay, it's at the point now, because back when we were kids, I'm not even gonna say kids, back when we were like in probably high school, and back, it'd be kind of hard to find a lot of like shirts with like cool characters of things you liked.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the old places to go. But now it's like, oh, you can walk into like a Target or something and find something like that. So it's not as rare as it used to be. And it's not as like, oh, this is the only place I can get a T-shirt with Mario on it or something like that,
Yeah, exactly. Because I remember just being kind of a kid. You'd go to Hot Topic and you would sort of go in there just to get a couple of new like band T-shirts and so on back in the day, just because. Why not? It's like, where else are you going to find this stuff? But yeah, now it's everywhere. It's anywhere you want to go. You can find something cool. I mean, sometimes you find like sometimes one of the coolest shirts at Target, which is always so weird to say, or Walmart even. Shit, I've seen some ones at Walmart like, fuck, and that's $7? God damn, gotta get that.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's just like, yeah, I'm not gonna be going there frequently, but I'm just like, okay, I thought I was gonna go in just to remind my own mortality, but I walked out with a cool Batman shirt, and oh look, they have some gorilla shit here too. It's on a budget, just Batman for now.
Speaking of sort of like Hot Topic-ness, or at least old school Hot Topic-ness, this character just kind of reminds me of a character that would have been a Hot Topic character of the '90s. But did you see the new Hellboy movie?
Actually, they had actually an old school Hellboy shirt there. That reminds me. So it does link.
See, it all links in. I knew it would.
I didn't see the new Hellboy movie. I plan on it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Dude, this movie was like mind-blowing amazing. I guess because maybe also too, it's like one of those ones like I was just kind of going into it. Like I never saw the trailer. Like I noticed there's a lot of movies nowadays that they don't heavily advertise anymore. They kind of try to do like, oh, let's try the word of mouth thing and see how far that goes. Save some bucks.
I think that there's a lot of it. It's because you don't watch YouTube trailers most of the time. So I think because I saw this on a lot of YouTube ads and like playing like ad for it, playing in front of another movie or something like that, another ad on YouTube.
I never got that in any of my YouTube videos. they always give me stupid ads, and I sometimes tell them like, "Yo, like, come on, YouTube, like." You know what I mean? Like, cigarette ads in front of workout videos is not really cutting it. I don't know where you're thinking this is a good idea. Like, I
thought smoking ads are illegal now. Like, or is it like those Juul like vape pen type shit?
I don't know. They might be those, but sometimes they're also like the anti-smoking ads. But I feel like that's just the same thing.
Okay.
But or my favorite one too is like there'll be like a workout video and stuff like that, and then it's like, hey guys, get the new chimichanga, fuck life. And then it's like, okay, back to working out. And you're like, I don't know, I'm conflicted. There was a chimichanga ad before the workout video. What do I do?
Get the new mango pineapple Mountain Dew only at Taco Bell.
Yeah, enough calories that you don't have to eat anymore.
Like for the day, ever again. All right.
Yeah, one serving of a big gulp. You'll be satisfied for life. Except for you have to come back and keep getting more of this stuff because now you'll be hooked. You'll be like hooked like a bass at like a sporting event. You know what I mean? But dude, that Hellboy movie, it was like, I guess because I was going in like, okay, like the first two Hellboy movies, like I enjoy those ones. I feel like they're dead center, like solid movies. Like in our recent podcast, I'll use it this way. They're kind of like the Captain Marvel and Shazam. Like they're, I probably actually like them a little bit more than those two movies. But you know what I mean? Like they're good, but they're not like Dark Knight, They're not one of those ones where it's like, shit, I'm going to throw that Hellboy movie on like all the time. It's more like, oh, I enjoy watching it. And then, a couple years later, maybe I'll throw it on again and, and so on. Where this new Hellboy movie just blew me away the whole way through. And I think one of the biggest things too that also just upped the ante is being rated R. That's just the perfect way that Hellboy needs to be. So you get copious amounts of violence and brutality, and it's just so cool watching it.
I only read one Hellboy comic, Seeds of Destruction, and I was just comparing it to the first movie. And there's some obvious similarities, but a lot of things they change too. And so I can't really say I'm a big authority on Hellboy or anything like that. It's one of those series that I always kind of wanted to get into. And as far as the Guillermo del Toro movies go, I always liked those movies. I have both of them. But the thing with them is I like them more for the visual aspect, the tone, the vibe, the action's good. a lot of the dialogue and humor is a little kind of awkward, but it's not enough to derail the movie. I still think those movies are totally worth owning and seeing. But I was curious about this one because I'm like, I know that it's kind of like, it's not like, how do I put it? It's not like that you can't make Hellboy without Guillermo del Toro, but I almost think of it more as a Guillermo del Toro movie series than I do comics, because that's how I'm more associated with. But I'm still looking forward to seeing this movie. I heard it kind of goes more into characters the movies didn't focus on. So the previous movies didn't focus on.
Yeah, because that's the same thing too with me. Is like Hellboy's always one of those series I've seen it my entire life. Always look cool, but that's just sort of how comics are. There's only so many comics you can read it so many times. So I just have never really got into it. So maybe that's also the other thing too, because sometimes I think there's some movies out there. It's like I always call it like that Guardian of the Galaxy experience. Maybe like the less you know, the more you might like it.
Yeah. Well, also I'll say this: I think the first two Hellboys remind me of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like maybe the humor and comedy isn't as well written or ironed out as Guardians, but that's kind of what they remind me of. Just this weird, fantastical adventure series with kind of a little bit of whimsy, a little bit of like satire to it. Mm-hmm. And then this one, it looks a little bit more like it's being more like, no, there's none of that. We're just trying to be a straightforward, fun, R-rated action movie. Is that what it is, or is it more of still a little bit of that? Or
well, it's kind of like it has the comedy in there, but like the comedy doesn't like it. Kind of is just there, like sort of in the background. Like it never takes over too much, but all the jokes seem to hit really well. They are really funny when they do happen. And then you got just all the darkness and kind of brutality, which I think makes it really cool, because one, that's just kind of a rare genre anyways in movies, because I always just notice whenever it's mostly hell type stuff, those movies never do good. I don't know what it is. Hell movies have never done good, like in like the history of like mankind, it seems like. People like them, but I think the audience is just so small that it's kind of always a tough one. But the fact that they go that distance, what it kind of reminded me of in the vein was actually that last Constantine movie that came out in the DCU animated one. Like that had a vibe similar to that.
Okay. Like that, but a little more action-oriented and kind of a little funnier, I imagine.
Yeah, and then, like, the action in it was just by itself, the action was so good. I mean, there was a scene where Hellboy was battling these 3 giant trolls, and it had no cuts in it whatsoever. It was just continuous spinning action and so on. I mean, they're all CG characters, so I guess that makes it a lot. It's not like you have 4 actors up there running around. That would be super fucking impressive, you know what I mean? Like, kind of at, like, the elephant protector when he's, like, running up the stairs. That's the one where he's going up the stairs, right? Or is that, Ongbak?
I think that's Protector.
Okay, yeah. So, like... It's,
elephant Protector, just the narrow...
That's technically what it's called in, Thailand.
Oh, that's what's called in Thailand?
Yeah,
okay.
For some reason, America, they're like, get that fucking elephant out of there. It's just a protector. You know what? Put in there, call him the American Protector. But that really has nothing to do with the movie. Fuck it.
It's gonna sell. You want people in the Midwest to get tickets? This is how you do it.
Call it the American Protector. Here, we'll just like Photoshop on an American flag on his shirt as he's running around.
Is there a white guy in the movie? Somewhere in the background? All right, put him on the poster. All right, we're gonna do a little bit of misleading. Look, I get it. I love Tony. I think Tony's amazing, but we gotta sell this thing in the Midwest. This is the only way it's gonna work, okay? Just trust me.
Literally, this movie is gonna be like one of the last movies that's ever... This is gonna be our make or break movie for if, kung fu movies still show up in American cinemas.
Rizzo's got something lined up. We're hoping the best for that. He's got Russell Crowe himself, so let's see what happens.
But no, this Hellboy one just all around, like the action was badass in it. The pacing was amazing. The filmmaking of it was awesome. And I was almost expecting kind of like a smaller budget movie, but it felt very grandeur all at the same time. I mean, they're going all kinds of places. There's all types of characters in it and so on. Another movie that I kind of put it like kind of with is it gave me like a Dredd kind of feel as well too. Like almost like if Judge Dredd was what the original Hellboys were, this movie was like the Dredd to it. Like that's how like much of a jump it felt.
Okay, yeah, because one of those things because I don't think original Hellboys, they're not. People seem kind of split on those. Like everyone seems to admire the way they look and the way that the look of the movie and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But people are kind of split whether they like the story or not. Where Dredd is most people, I'm not trying to be a dick here, most people don't like the first Judge Dredd, where second Judge Dredd, it's like, all right, well, this is somebody who I think the guy who made the first Judge Dredd, he was a big fan of the comic, but the studio and Stallone stepped in like, no, this is how we're doing it, right?
Yeah, because that's kind of how it was, because there's a lot of still Judge Dredd elements in the original Judge Dredd one. Like, it kind of blows me away when you see a lot of these characters in there, and it's like, dude, whoever's putting it together really knew their Judge Dredd. But it has like those just like kind of the couple corny things, I think, in that one. Like, I still love the Stallone one, and I kind of get it, and I just take it as is, and I enjoy it that way. But, you know, when you see Dredd was like, oh, dude, this is just dialed in as can be.
I want to see Judge Dredd again because I haven't seen it since I was probably in middle school. So
we should do a retrospect on it at some point.
Knowing what it is now and knowing some of the little bit of the backstory behind it, I kind of want to know because I want to say I saw like a little bit of a retrospect on it where it said the guy making it was trying to make it for a long time and he was trying to get as much lore and things in there as possible, but people like, you know, just got like, no, like this is how we do it in America. Because I want to say it was a British director too.
Yeah, because, you know, yeah, he's probably trying to do it full on Judge Dredd because Judge Dredd's all British.
I think it was a British director. I might be wrong.
But no, that'd be fun too. But no, this Hellboy though, it's like one of those ones. Like, maybe it's just because of that thing where it's like I expected to go in there and see just a nice solid movie. Like maybe I felt like I was gonna be in the same vein as probably Shazam and Captain Marvel. Like I felt like that's what I was expecting to go see. And then when it kind of came in, it's just like, dude, it delivered on all fronts. And then even like the end of the movie, like it just kind of kept giving you like exactly what you sort of wanted. You almost wished every movie did. This movie did. And that's what I thought was so cool about it, you know? And I mean, I guess it probably, there's, you know, the ending action scene has Motley Crue playing over it. So it's like, they're like, hey, Spencer!
Shout at the Devil?
No, they got Kickstart My Heart, I want to say, playing.
Okay, all right. So this is a movie made for you. You have a satanic shoot 'em up / horror action movie.
A little bit of
Motley
comedy.
Crue. I think this movie was genetically engineered just for you.
I think so. It was like, that's how I sort of felt watching this one. So I'm like, I don't know, after watching, I know it's only one time watching it, but so far, I've been kind of like making my 2019 movies. Like every single time I see a movie that I think's like top 10 worthy, I write it down. I'm like, dude, this one right here, so far, it's holding slot number 1. It's that good.
Well, I definitely plan on seeing it. I don't think it's gonna be in theaters too long because people are really shitting on it. But I don't really take a lot of film criticism that seriously. I mean, it's a movie called Hellboy, so I think I know what I'm getting into. You know what I mean? So
well, I think there's a lot of people that were really pissed because since Ron Perlman wasn't in it, and I know that like Ron Perlman was trying to do like a Hellboy 3, so I feel it's got that sort of that kind of problem going. Yeah, so I think you got to go in this movie just going, hey, it's something kind of different. It's, you know, different director, different actor, you know, and the guy who plays Hellboy does a hell of a good job. You know what I mean? Like, I was totally sold on this one.
I think it's the guy who plays the sheriff in Stranger Things. I think that's who it was.
Oh, is that who it is? Because I didn't know I didn't recognize the name. I mean, it's got Mila Jovovich she's the villain in the movie.
She's like, do you have like a genre movie that's gonna get critically panned? Then you get Mila Jovovich or whatever her name is.
You really do, because, you know, here's the thing. She makes those kind of movies that people don't seem to like. They talk about they don't like them, but they still make a ton of money. Like Resident Evil. Because I was like Resident Evil. People are like, why do these movies keep coming out? It's because they do very well.
And that's not me talking shit on her or this movie, but I think that she's almost, by this point, like kind of a cult actress, because she's in a lot of these movies that, like you said, don't do critically well, but they usually make a lot of money. Like I don't know how good that freaking what's it called?
Three Musketeers one.
Three Musketeers thing did with her in a big like golden dress doing a Neo slide through a bunch of like bullets.
You know, this sounds so weird. I keep hoping I run into that movie like in the $2 bin because I am just interested in it. You know what I mean?
Not the $5 bin, the $2 bin.
Because it just feels like one of those movies where it's like, you know what? This could be one of those movies that looks kind of like way too corny and over the top. And I know it's like taking history. Like, you know what? What if history was like a Final Fantasy and then like shit, it's steampunk with like, you know, airships and, you know, Three Musketeers, right? That'd be fucking sick. And it's kind of like, yeah, that does sound kind of like a little bit weird. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. That could be kind of cool too. I'm not too sure.
That might be a fun audio commentary. Just going to a blind, like, fuck it, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Because it could turn out to be one of those sweet ones. Because, you know, for the most part, that director, like, you know, he has some, like, falls. But I will say he's one of those ones, I'd probably say he's got, like, a 3/4 chance of it actually being pretty good.
Well, what was I going to say about that? So you said the final battle, they're playing Kickstart My Heart?
Yeah, and it's just like, dude, it's just like, and it's just badass too, and they're just like killing people left and right. And this is kind of like when they got like the team built up and so on. But I think just this movie's just kind of getting that hate just because I think a lot of people are doing things like, no Ron Perlman, I'm not watching. So it's got that kind of going on, and it's like, here's the thing, I like Ron Perlman as much as the next guy, but Hellboy's his own character. You know what I mean? It's just like 007. He can be somebody else. It's okay, people.
That had to be people's reaction when George Lazenby first became 007.
Like, no, Sean Connery! No! It's just like, oh, God.
Okay. Oh, he's just having a stroke. He does that whenever they announce a new Bond. By the time he was excited when Sean Connery came back,
like,
and they told him...
He's in Las Vegas, he's back! And then they take him away, it's like, no Sean Connery! No Sean Connery!
We got Roger Moore. Started all over again. By the time he gets comfortable with him, they switch him out, and he just does this.
Yeah, he can't handle change too well.
You should have seen him when they switched out Coke with New Coke.
We thought he actually died that day.
But it was like the greatest day of his life again when they brought original Coke back.
But he was also kind of pissed because he did get used to New Coke by that point too.
It was only 3 days.
It was 3 days, but it was 3 days of like pure hate, then pure questionable, then pure joy, and then it was all gone.
I'm just gonna. I don't mean to like stay on this thing too much because I know you brought it up twice, but I'm gonna say maybe seeing the scene, Kickstart My Heart might work better for an action scene, but having a movie called Hellboy and not using Shout at the Devil seems like a lost opportunity.
Yeah, I always feel that too. I felt like that was one of those ones where it's like that reminds me of kind of like what's a popular Motley Crue song, not necessarily what's the best Motley Crue song for this like scene.
Mm-hmm.
They do have some other kind of, because other than that though, they got kind of a weird soundtrack because you expect to hear a bunch of like metal bands, but they almost got like this sort of like those Jack White type bands, and it sounds weird, but I felt like it still kind of worked in a way. Like it had
like the Kills, Dead Weather, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff. That was like the majority of it. They did have Motley Crue. They had Alice Cooper in there, which they had the Welcome to My Nightmare. So I thought that one fit in nicely.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'd almost expect there to be kind of a little bit more like kind of metal type music. It had a little bit less of that, but more kind of like that modern 70s rock style stuff. But it still kind of worked in a weird way. Like it didn't take me out of it at all or anything like that.
I'm told he plays it like he's kind of a stoned metalhead. I heard that's kind of the way he plays the character.
Oh yeah, he's definitely like you could totally tell he is like the metalhead guy and so on. He even bitches about like the kids' music and so on. But yeah, I just say like I can't recommend this movie more. I tell everybody this. I'm like, dude, this is if there's a movie to see in theaters, this is the one. It is so fucking good. Like I and that's the thing is I guess it's one of those if I was going into it with such high hopes like you would with like other stuff maybe. You'd be like, dude, this one's better be fucking amazing. And, I guess maybe because it's like, oh, Hellboy. He's like, that's a cool character. I've always liked him. Granted, I haven't read all his books or anything like that. But it's always like, so I admired. I like the other two movies. But, they're just solid good movies. And then going into this and being like, oh my gosh, this is so fucking good. Like, I know that probably doubles up the ante of like how good this can be. And probably now that I talk about it so highly, I feel like I'm raising the bar for everybody else around me.
Something about Demon Slayer movies just always have trouble. I mean, they were talking about trying to make a Devil May Cry movie how many years ago? Whenever they come out with the Demon Slayer movie, it's always something in the realm of like Underworld. I know those aren't demons, but it always has that kind of like early 2000s kind of vibe to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, the sad thing too, it's Satan and hell type movies just never seem to do very well. Because I was thinking like there's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger one.
End of Days,
and that didn't do, super well. There's Constantine, which people do remember and people do like, but it didn't do, like, as amazing as they wanted it to be, Then you got things like, God, there's another one on the tip of my tongue, I can't think of it. But, like, I just noticed whenever those type of movies come out, it's just, they're such a hard sell, I feel. Because I think there's a lot of people that put off, like, well, there's Satan in there and hell, I don't know. Even if they're people that might seem kind of normal, they don't have to be like necessarily like Christian or anything like that, but they just might have that like, well, maybe we could check something else out instead. Like, like, oh, look, they got, God, what other movies were playing this time? I was trying to think of something funny that would be like,
I was just actually looking at the soundtrack real quick. The Muse is in that soundtrack? Huh.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny, though? I will say this, though, because, like, in every single movie for, like, the last 3 months, I've seen that silly Christian movie where, like, the boy falls into the ice water, and then, like, his mom, who's, like, 500 pounds, is like, oh, little Billy's drowning! Oh, God help me! Be like, well, if you go on a fucking diet, maybe I will bring Billy back.
Just step on the ice, you'll sink down, break right through it and grab him.
Shit, yeah, he'll sink to the bottom. You can literally walk to him on the ground. You know, like when Link puts on the fucking heavy boots? That'll be like you down there.
Like, this is the way God's explaining it to him.
But, it's funny. That trailer appeared, like, on every fucking movie. Like, I almost could quote that trailer. I've seen it so many fucking times. And they never even changed it. It was always the same stupid trailer. Not on Hellboy, though.
I'll say that's cool. They just know they're like, look, we only got so many trailers here at this theater. They only send us so many. Here's this one. And
they're like, ooh,
I'm not gonna lie. There's what?
They're probably like, ooh, let's not put our Christian movie with hell, boy.
No, we're already here. Fuck it. It's a new guy. No, I'll be honest. A lot of Christian movies, I don't watch them too frequently, but. And I'm not trying to be a dick, but a lot of them are just funny as fuck. And I'm not talking about like something like, oh, Book of Eli. Book of Eli, I feel, is somewhat coincidental, and it has like a not just Christian, but a pro-faith message in the sense of just do something good or believe in what you're doing kind of thing. And because, at the end, the book goes on the shelf. You see like every religion there, so... It's one of those things that I don't think that movie is so much as a Christian movie. And like, oh, I liked it until it became a Christian movie. Like, you got Denzel Washington walking across the wasteland with a sword fighting Gary Oldman. I don't give a shit if it's a Christian movie. That's fucking badass.
Well, I don't even think that movie is a Christian movie. I just think it happens to have a guy who is Christian in it who has a book.
It's kind of in the same realm of, like, say, a like... Not to this level. It's more of a post-apocalyptic movie. And I'll get back to what I was originally saying in the first place, but just got to clarify something because I love Book of Eli. I actually think that might be somewhere in my top 20 favorite movies because I'll sometimes just put that on for comfort food as I work on something, just listen to it. I mean, it's not even it has the world's greatest scripts, but it's something good about that. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I'll say this. Okay, now if he was walking around instead and it was a completely different book, happened to be The Dark Knight Returns, and everybody fucking wanted that. It was like, shit, it's the last copy.
Yeah. Then that would be the greatest movie of all time. Like, if you say, like...
And he's got the Braille version of it. There's no fucking pictures. What the hell? It's okay. Frank Miller's writing's good enough.
Like fucking Gary Oldman grabs like the back of like, you're hurting your mother, Solara. What was the symbol on the book? And she like makes a bat shape with her hands. If only I had the power. That book has the right words. I am Batman? Yes, those are the words. This would be a good death.
That'd be so amazing right there. But yeah, as I said, like I don't think of that movie as a Christian movie though. I think it just kind of happens to have. I think it's just more like a cool concept. Like, what if it was? It literally is the last Bible on Earth. That would seem pretty fucking rare, right? Because here's the thing: right now, everybody's got a fucking Bible at their house. You don't even have to be Christian to have like 10 Bibles that you fucking inherited from at least some grandparent at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's also one of those things. I was gonna say it's kind of like it's more of a post-apocalyptic movie. But it's kind of in the realm, I consider it kind of in the realm, is like, it's not this genre, but I guess a speck of that, since it has the religion thing. Like a demon hunter movie to an extent. Say, something like Constantine.
Van Helsing.
Or Helsing, something like that. Not saying it's that, it's first and foremost post-apocalyptic, but has a little sprinkle of, like, I guess you'd say, a Christian fantasy mythology story. So... which is essentially what most demon hunter stories are. They're usually, okay, how do we take Chris? It's kind of, every so often you see a modernization retelling of like, oh, okay, we're going to do like Greek mythology stuff in modern day. Well, that's essentially what most demon hunting stuff is. Like, all right, how do we make Jesus seem badass?
Yeah, well, because think about it, like the Van Helsing, that's what that is. Like, who is he working for? He's working for the fucking Pope.
Yeah. What's Constantine doing? Well, he doesn't like his boss, but he's working for God essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just kind of there, and I feel like when It's just that weird thing, like Christian mythology, when it's kind of like in that realm, I think it's really badass because then it's just as cool as like Greek mythology or Norse mythology or anything else like that because now you add in all these other like almost fantasy elements to it and then you get sweet shit like Constantine and fucking Hellboy. Why not?
But then something like Christian movies where it's just like, no, we just want to put in a Sunday school lesson into a movie. I'm not trying to be a dick, but they're just so fucking funny because... All right, something like Book of Eli is vague enough, it has a message, and you get it across. But a lot of like just Christian movies, they're just kind of preaching to the choir. They're not really trying, they don't really seem to understand this isn't going to get new people in most of the time. I mean, I'm sure there's some good ones out there if you look long enough. But a lot of the time, it's just like if there's like a gay guy in the movie, he's the villain, and he's always kind of like, you will bake me a cake, or I will sue you.
Yeah, he's using all that kind of stuff. Well, here's the thing. Christian movies made in like the 40s and 50s and 60s almost were fucking amazing. See, they knew how to sell a Christian movie back then because they made it an epic movie. They made it sweet. They made it like King of Kings, that Jesus movie where it's just badass the whole way through, and you got fucking Orson Welles narrating it and shit. Or you take
the greatest story ever told, something like that.
Yeah, or like Ben-Hur, or like the Ten Commandments. They knew how to make a movie feel like, oh shit, I'm getting in. You know, I think that's the thing, is if you gave more of the Christian movies like this kind of Troy feeling. Like, I will say there was this Christian one that came out like, I think a year or two ago, and it was about, God shit, what was his name?
Scott?
The strongest Christian guy, shit, in the Bible. Technically it's in the Jewish. Samson. There was a Samson movie. And I remember, like, I don't think if it came to our theater or anything like that, it was gone really quick, but it looked kind of cool because they were almost giving it the Troy sort of feel, but for Samson. And I'm like, that would be a sick one. I would see that because that's a cool story in itself, you know?
Mm-hmm. I'll say this. I'm not opposed just because, you know, there are interesting stories to it. I'm not opposed to like a movie about Jesus or other stories in the Bible because those can be interesting depending on the way they shoot them and tell the story. It's just more of like modern day stuff. Like, she was a jaded country girl. Then one day she got a flat tire in this little Christian rural town and quit her sinful, lustful ways and got down with the local general store owner and became a sister.
Yeah, like, when you get those ones where it's just like, okay, you can pump the fucking brakes on this here because this is clear. You want to know why people don't show up to fucking church? It's this stuff right here.
Yeah, and those are the ones where it's always one of those things like, it's just a lot of, because there's one called, I looked it up a little bit ago. There is one that was straight up propaganda called the Trump Prophecy. And it's apparently based on a true story about a firefighter who had a near-life death experience, or near-death experience.
He was near life, and there was a death experience around him. Shit.
He saw it secondhand, like, God, I gotta rethink some shit. That could have been me. Moving on. And he had a vision. Apparently, God told him Trump was going to become the president. And he's trying to go to people like, look, we need to support Donald Trump so he could become the president. Like, but why? God told me in a dream after I got hit in the head or whatever the fuck.
You know, I had 15 martinis. I know that had nothing to do with it.
And it's just people like saying like, he needs our support. But he said some things. But it's the way. It's his will.
You don't know this, but that's his second son.
He is the second coming. He is the Messiah.
Yeah, he's actually technically the middle child, and that's why he's kind of got his problems, but you gotta love him the same way. I like how this guy, I don't know why I pictured this, the guy had his, like, dear life death experience thing. That's like when you're, like, sitting and eating a sandwich, like, in a really high skyscraper restaurant, and all of a sudden, like, the window washer guy falls, and you look kind of out, and you're like, huh, that looked fucking dangerous.
Good thing I went to college.
Yeah, good thing, yeah. Not out there on the 108th story window, like, washing it, you know, held up by a rope that fucking, like, Bob tied for me, and I just really got to rely on it.
You know what? What if Trump was president? Shit, that must be God talking to me. Done. Let's make this happen.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like when those Easter movies do kind of pop up, because that's always when they come up, which I will say this is fucking weird. Did you know that, like, in school nowadays, that spring break is not backed up against Easter anymore, like in mini schools?
You know what? I can kind of see that because, and this isn't me like complaining because I have Christian friends who've complained about this, but people are becoming less and less religious, so I think they're finding reasons for what was originally a religious reason. They're finding other reasons to give people, days off and aligning it more with something else.
It's just one of those ones, like, that to me is kind of like those weird ones where it's like, you know what, the other day, you don't got to be Christian at all. Like, here's the thing. Easter could be a holiday that involves nothing to do with Christ, really, at the end of the day. There's a fucking rabbit. There's fucking eggs with money and fucking gifts in them and shit and chocolate. And sometimes you forget to find them till, like, the next year. But beyond that, like, I feel like there's like the Easter holiday as itself was always kind of a magical experience for a kid. And here's the thing. 99% of kids, unless they go to church, probably have no idea what it has to do with. They just think of the rabbit dude who fucking brings gifts, just like Santa Claus, who once again feels like it doesn't really relate to, like, anything Christian either.
He was kind of Santa. He wasn't like full tilt Santa. It wasn't like you weren't like Christmas excited, but you were excited because, like, okay, here's a break. It's just a little filler. This is Santa's cousin. He's just kind of like, he's just pick up the slack just to remind you, oh yeah, you still got to be good for the Easter bunny or whatever the fuck. So it's one of those things like, okay, so you're not going to get a bunch of shit, but the shit you get, like, okay, I get some candy. And usually when I was a little kid, it was usually to be a toy along with it. Maybe not like something huge, but like I remember, not the giant one, but I remember one year I got like, it was like a small AT-AT from Star Wars, like one of the small scale ones. I got one of those, and I was so amped. So
yeah, I remember one time just being like, in like the Easter basket, there was Star Wars Episode 1 on VHS, and I was like, dude.
Yeah, it'd be something like that. It'd be like either like a toy or a movie with a bunch of candy.
Yeah, and so I feel like for kids, they're not going to get that experience of being able to find an Easter basket with fucking Star Wars in it.
I like it if it's one of those things where you have a parent who gets the kid everything he wants in that Easter basket, but he puts it in the hardest to find spot. Like, all right, Jimmy, now I know you're scared of small spaces and the dark, but guess where your Easter basket is?
Down the
well. In the basement!
Yeah, go get it! Go get it! And as he's halfway down the stairs, you flip the light out on him.
Close the door.
And he's just sitting there like, but there's a chance that Star Wars Episode 9 could be in there on Blu-ray.
Yeah, we gotta conquer your fears, just like Jesus did. He brought it back. We're bringing it a religious thing.
Believe me, that's what God did to Jesus. He sent him down the basement, locked the fucking door, turned the lights off, and told him, they had lights back then? Well, shit, it's God. Of course he had fucking lights.
You're not coming up until you find Star Wars Episode 9 on Blu-ray.
Yeah, shit. And Jesus was down there. He's like, hopefully I'll get Star Wars -9 down there.
Whatever the Star Wars equivalent was back in, I don't know. Whatever time was back then.
Yeah, they had the super prequels back then. You didn't know about this, but there was negative series back in the Jesus days. This
is back before they actually had lightsabers.
Yeah.
It ends right where he gets a lightsaber. Star Wars was a vision from God that George Lucas was told by. So yeah, just passing it on.
He was one time eating a sandwich in a 108-story building and saw a window washer fall and had a vision.
Oh God! Good thing I made American Graffiti instead of got into washing windows. Fuck.
That's where it all led up to, So, and that's why we gotta have Easter, because when we have Easter, that's the only way kids will get their fucking Star Wars video cassettes, unless they're those rich fucking kids who just get them when they come out.
Yeah, they're one of those kids.
Because that was the thing, is I felt like, because once again, you go back to like being a kid, and you probably have like your allowance for doing chores, which never was much. You know what I mean? You had to you almost had to take loans out from the parent bank, to get yourself a video game, and then you said you'd work it off in like the next like month and a half plus.
Take like a quarter of a year roughly to pay back a parent for like, I remember I got Pokemon Snap. It took me like, on like a $6 allowance, took me like a quarter of a year to pay him back for that.
Well, that's when I discovered when they had video game shops that had used video games. It's like, shit, this is the way to go. I can afford this. I can get a $20 version of a $50 game instead. It might be slightly used, but that's okay. I can take that. I can make that in a month.
Back when GameStop was Funcoland, yeah.
Oh yeah, back in those old days, we had Funko. Well, technically, GameStop was there, but it was like there was a bunch of different companies. There was Funcoland, and there was
EB Games,
EB Games, which I think was the
Electronic Games Boutique, I believe, or Electronics Boutique, something like that.
Yeah, that's what.
Or was that EB Games? Was that EB Games?
That was EB Games, and then
I remember some of them just had a very different vibe because you go to like an EB Games, something different. You go to Electronics Boutique, and I mean, it's a game store with gaming merchandise, but then it would be like, it was just weird because you go there, like, there's a time when Pokemon stuff was hard to come by. I remember coming across, like, a Japanese import of, like, what is it? It's like a Lapras wind-up toy. You assemble yourself. This is so rare.
Well, there was one of them. It was I don't think it was Funko. There was one other name that had like a really weird fucking name, and like that was the one. Like if you discovered that, like half the merchandise in there was all from Japan, and it was like, dude, what the fuck? This is so cool.
Well, it'd be weird because you would see. I don't even know what the fuck. It was like they were just grabbing whatever they could, because they'd have old games there, and then they'd have like, dude, we got something coming out called a Dreamcast, and I'm just seeing like a TV with Sonic Adventure footage on Japanese just on a loop, and like, oh, what the fuck is this? Like, this is me just first finding out about it.
Yeah, exactly. You never knew what you were gonna find.
Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where I don't know. There's that little era, like something about the Dreamcast era. I'm not gonna just totally switch gears here, but just some of that era, right when how do I put it? Right when gaming was kind of making that jump of kind of like, it's still sort of kind of underground, but this is like right when stores were starting to kind of like, there is a market for this.
Yeah,
you could have a store that focuses on this rather than just have it in the toy corner.
Exactly. It was like beyond just like that one section of KB Toys,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where, and like those stores to focus on, like, well, we know our demographic. What if we got in some weird ass Final Fantasy imported toys here too, like just weird shit like that. When they're just starting to learn, like, kids are getting allowances now. We could probably upcharge them and like with some weird import shit.
Yeah, exactly. Because that was like when Japan was just getting popular. And the sad thing is that they all kind of adopted the GameStop style in the long run. Because I think GameStop and EB Games were two different companies, and then they merged together, and then GameStop sort of just kind of took more and more over, and then all the stores started looking more and more like GameStop, and it just like it kind of lost, because it used to be that each store was like they're all kind of connected to each other, but each store had like a different take on like what you were gonna find in it. And GameStop was always the shittiest one of them all. It's like you found a GameStop, it's like, oh, that fucking sucks. But if you found an EB Games, you found a Funcoland, those ones were always fucking way cool too. And then God, there was one other one I just cannot think of it off the top of my head. But Funcoland was also the one too that you could find a lot more like older stuff / you would find like action figures, and you would find kind of Japanese import and fun stuff like that, and posters and just other kind of weird stuff that you wouldn't normally find. Where I remember GameStop was strictly like new games mostly, maybe a last generation, that was about it, which granted that's what it is pretty much now. Even though GameStop does have that corner, which is probably their best part, where they have just random t-shirts and action figures.
This is something that probably only our generation would find funny or interesting. This is just me spitballing here. Part of me should probably keep this to myself. I honestly think there's like room for either a show or a comic of somebody working at like a Funcoland or something, a store like that. Because whenever you go in there, there's always a bunch of teenagers like, dude, it was almost kind of like the setup for like one of those what we call the 90s whoa movies. Because it's always younger people, like teenagers. Maybe the oldest person working there was 22, maybe. And the games would be all disorganized and not really labeled well. There'd be like a cartridge on a plastic bag on like a rack,
Yeah, I remember those. Those were always fucking weird.
The little rack thing, it wasn't like they had a little hole for it to go through, but it was just stabbed, like impaled on this rack, just hanging there.
Because it was
like,
easier.
Whatever.
It was probably easier to do that than to get the hole punch gun that you lost, a couple months ago.
And just going over to like one of those like glass display tables, look in there, look at all these Game Boy games for like $4 to $15 used. Just mind, like, what the fuck is this? So well, I honestly think there's room for like I think that's something you'd have to make now though, because if you made like a setting around that and it ends with something like GameStop coming in and taking it over, I think that is something that could only really say to our generation, because kids this day and age, they're used to video games being video game store being a common thing, and mainly only being one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that almost like it's almost like kind of like you take like the Clerks model, and it's almost like and instead of like Clerks focusing on the convenience store, if it literally just focused on like the video side, but do that when it was later, when it was like maybe like a pure straight video game type store. Like I'm surprised. Yeah, that is one of those ones where it's like, because that's a perfect like whether it be a sitcom or whether it be just a straight up comedy movie, I feel like there's a lot of potential you could have with that. Just being like one of those like, I'll say this: you take something kind of like no different than like Office Space or like Waiting or something like that. You give it that kind of feel where it's just like, here's a workplace comedy. You know what I mean? It all generally takes place in a video game store. Here's like the 7 employees and their manager. You know what I mean? And they have maybe like the last like maybe it's still a mom and pop type business, but it's not just like typical mom and pop. It's more like it's kind of like an expanded mom and pop. Like maybe it's a chain. Like let's just say it's a chain around the Bay Area. So it goes from like the Silicon Valley up to like San Francisco and like Oakland and so on. Like somewhere like that you would see something of this.
The one that comes to mind when I think Funcoland is one in San Jose. So yeah.
Because I feel like that would be the ideal place. Because if you had it kind of focused in like San Jose, like. Yeah, if you did it like a late 90s type, like it was a period piece, Like
maybe it goes as late as 2000, 2001. That's as far as it goes.
Yeah, exactly. So, you could have this kind of like cool like hangout spot of like, Dreamcast, PlayStation era, maybe PS2 on like the cusp coming in. But beyond that, yeah, I feel like that sets it up for like a really neat thing. And yeah, there is like one of those ones. I mean, I still think there's some more years that you could kind of get an idea like this out, but it is definitely made for a certain generation that like you would kind of want to capture somewhat as quickly as possible. That actually is a really good idea.
I just think why the fuck are we saying it here? So, I mean, I don't know if anyone. I'm not too worried about. I mean, whatchamacallit? Is it stigma? Is it parallel thinking is a thing? So somebody's already probably got an idea, got a script, trying to pass that along. But yeah.
Well, yeah, and no matter what, I always say, like, there can be multiple scripts of something, but, each one would have its own unique flavor and so on.
There's apparently a couple different, this isn't, I don't want to turn this into a business meeting partway through the show. We should talk about this later. No.
I'm writing it down right now. It's a good idea. It's like, you don't forget these kind of things.
There's apparently, like, Patton Oswalt made this workplace comedy show, and it was really well received. Like, nah, can't do it. Why? Clerks came out. It's just like, we can't really do this I can't fucking talk right now, this like convenience store comedy, because you already got this thing called Clerks that already kind of did it better. I remember like Patton Oswalt was on an old episode of Smodcast, and he says, I'll be honest with you, man, for a period of time I really didn't like you because Clerks was so good. And it shot down this thing I was working on, but now I'm over it. But I'm not gonna lie, there was a period where I really resented you about that.
It's funny that it didn't come out, because most of the time it always seems like whenever there's like one, there's always like one or two other ones, you know what I mean? Like I always think of like, when Mars was popular, you got Mission to Mars, you got Red Planet, and then you got Ghost of Mars.
Or it's like they had like 5 Penguin movies come out at the same time, but they're all really different Penguin movies. Like, okay, there's March of the Penguins, then there's the CG Sony Pictures mockumentary surf movie, which I think somebody originally had a mockumentary comedy planned. They made it about penguins instead. So
yeah, exactly. So there's just so many. God, there's another Penguin movie coming out too again. So it's like the Penguin thing still doesn't go away. So it's not saying that
Highway,
I always feel multiple people.
I just want the Penguin Highway
you know what I
thing,
mean?
The anime movie.
Well, maybe it is. I thought it was like sort of like Disney. Maybe it was. I don't know what the heck it was.
Maybe there's another one, but I know there's like some kind of like whimsical fantasy drama movie about penguins coming out. It's an anime.
Yeah, well, it's even like I'll look at this like Waiting, since we brought that up as kind of the workplace comedy. Well, at the same time period or around then, there was the other like restaurant comedy that came out from the Broken Lizard guys.
Oh, Slam and Salmon.
Yeah, Slam and Salmon. So it's like, it goes to show, it's like, see, you can have multiple ones that they can be kind of different from each other. I mean, they'll have similar connections, but, it's, why not?
Dante's Peak and
Volcano? Yeah, so, it all works out, I think.
I don't know which one came out first, but I just like to imagine, like, yeah, but they're already making a Volcano movie. Yeah, but ours is in L.A.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here and make that fucking movie. Just chucks a lot of money at him. Get Tommy Lee Jones. Do it now.
Yeah, exactly. We're doing it. That Men in Black was super popular. Get him in here again. I can't remember if that came before or after, but I know it was around that same time period.
Bring me a bag of Coke and a whore. We must celebrate.
Totally. But,
what if there's a part where a guy, he has to like pick up another guy, but jump in the lava, and he burns alive, sinking down the lava, and we slowly watch this motherfucker sink in the lava, and we can still make it, it's fucked up, it's gonna haunt kids, but it's PG-13 still! That's fucking awesome! Fuck yeah!
Well, it's funny, because I look at Dante's Peak, and I call that the best disaster movie ever made, in my opinion.
I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember I was surprised that, like, there's a part where because there's one scene, there's two things in that movie, actually three scenes in that movie, they're like, oh wow, they got away with that? There's the couple skinny dipping, even though you don't see the nudity, but there's a part where just the idea they get boiled alive, and you see these two, like, burnt corpses just bouncing and dangling around in the water. And then there's the part where the grandma is, like, pulling the boat along, like, I'm gonna make myself useful! And she's just... And you see her fucked up, like, burnt up granny legs. And then there's the other part where I want to say Pierce Brosnan, he's, like, in a narrow space grabbing something, and I want to say part of his bone shoots out through his elbow, and you see it.
Yeah, it does. When when he's in the car and they crash into, like, the mine shaft.
And I want to say they show it, I'm like, oh my god, this is fucking PG-13?
Yeah, well, it's weird, because disaster movies can kind of get away with that sort of stuff. It's almost like, because I think it's because it's not like man doing violence to man. It's like, it's okay.
It's nature.
Yeah, so it's like that. Whenever I think of the grandma, like, pushing the boat, I remember one time, like, it was like me and Cisco, there was a hot tub, and it was, like, so fucking hot. I remember getting in, it's like, oh god, I feel like the grandma on Dante's Peak.
I actually, my girlfriend over her place, she has a hot tub. Remember, there's a group of people in there, and I got in there, and I said that. I stole your guys' line, because I think it's funny. I want to see how people respond.
It's a great one. It works really, if you want to bring laughs to any hot tub party, you use that fucking line when you get in.
One person nearly died of laughter, because no one else saw the movie.
That's the sad thing, is you forget that, like, oh, that movie at one point in time was, like, one of the biggest things ever. And that's kind of the weird thing about disaster movies. I feel like they don't have, like, a lasting... Like, they're humongous for, like, a handful of years, and then they just sort of fade away. It's like Twister. That movie was fucking ginormously huge, but nobody fucking brings it up anymore. And it still holds up to this day, but lost in time.
I just like the idea of that's someone's favorite movie, Dante's Peak. Like, dude, what are you feeling like? What are you up for tonight? DP? DP. Just fist bump?
Yeah, we're Dante's Peak in it! But,
They got three different posters in the house.
I'm really surprised I don't even have a Dante's Peak poster. That sounds like something I would have bought just to have, like, one of those, like, odd ones up on the wall. Like, oh shit, is that a Dante's Peak poster?
Yeah, you did the pay-per-view, the 90s pay-per-view thing where they send you a fanny pack with, like, a silhouette of the mountain and the logo.
I know, I wish I would have got a Dante's Peak one. I only got the Air Force Ones, and those were pretty badass. I do love, there's that one where I keep thinking, like, I could have had a Devil's Advocate one, which at the time as a kid, I'm like, I don't want the Devil's Advocate one. I'm actually glad I got the Air Force One. But as an adult, I'm like, you know what? The Devil's Advocate one's even more weird.
What was it, like a day planner or something?
No, there was like those fanny pack things, like the leather ones that I keep, like, my Game Boys in.
It's just fucking funny. Well, the Air Force One, it's just like, oh yeah, it could be like a mock thing, like, oh, I'm on staff with Air Force One or whatever. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, that one looks like that. The Devil's Advocate one would just look.
You're just like, man, what? I should have held out for Some Like It Hot.
Yeah, exactly.
Something really, like just random.
It's just kind of like one of those weird ones. Like, those are always like such weird movie promotions because I feel like nobody fucking knows that Air Force One bag, unless I tell them it, probably is from the movie. I don't think anybody would guess that. That wouldn't be their first guess.
Well, I'm just wondering if they ever had people that got really defensive over the shit they'd send them. Like, hey, I pay-per-viewed The Saint, and my complimentary beer cozy did not come in yet. What the fuck?
Well, this is the old days, too, where it took like 6 to 8 weeks to deliver, so by the time it came, you already forgot about it.
Just like, it's just like somebody's just like, you know what? I wasn't 100% sure on the movie, but you told me free beer cozy, and I was sold.
Yeah. What's funny too is like,
least...
shit, I only paid like $2.99 for the pay-per-view, so the beer cozy pretty much paid for itself.
I try to think. It's like some of the most random ass movies as possible. They probably just had a couple lines of things and just like, just print the logo on it. We'll call it good.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it was. Just like, here's some like shit we got delivered in from China. We'll just, print the movie's title across it. Boom, we're good.
Don't run in the wash. He'll be gone like within 2 washes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's leather, so I was thinking you weren't gonna do it anyways, but or fake leather technically, but
some people's kids.
Yeah, they're fucking stupid, right? High five across the room.
Like Mr. Fantastic across the room.
Yeah, just like. But yeah, all kinds of good fun stuff there. Tell you what, I actually kind of stoked about this idea for the fucking game store, whether it be a workplace comedy, sitcom idea. I don't know. I wrote down
drama maybe.
Shit, it could be a Pizza Boys issue if nothing happens with it. It's just it's just a cool idea. It's like, you know what? I mean,
a flashback episode when they're in high school or something, or in the middle school.
It could be something like that, where they get their first jobs or something like that. You could. There's so many things you can kind of go about it, and it just feels like one of those ones where I know I make a lot of like episodes where they sort of like, hey, here's our new business idea, but I feel like that always can work. You know what I mean? You never run out of making business ideas, because the day you stop doing new business ideas, the dream dies.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
You always want to have that next business venture, even if like one may fail. There always might be another one around the corner. But other than that, though, I guess we gotta get this wrapped up a little bit. Got some events to go to today, and then you got a massive trip to plan for. You got to go to the Netherlands and conquer that country. Be in there, be like, I am Ryan. I am Ryan from America. Dare you speak ill of me? Sir, I demand an American flag set wherever I walk.
Right over there, and there's like a huge line of Americans, like, I am Philip of America! Just something in the water.
Hello, Grand Ryan, are you here to conquer the Netherlands as well, too? Like, why do you guys all talk in British accents? It kind of comes with the conqueror voice, I'm not too sure.
You go colonialism, to go to.
Yes, and you always shout at the top of your lungs!
Pretty much. Yeah, and I'll be out of town for maybe a week and a half, roughly, so maybe we can get another episode in later today, which would be a week for you guys, or maybe just be one without me for a minute, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, because we learned that, like, trying to do it across the fucking pond it failed us last time with whatever, hotel internet it was.
Plus, I'm going to be staying at because my girlfriend, she's Dutch, and we're staying at her mom's place. So, just me, I don't want to be, screaming, dick jokes when her mom's, I don't know how many rooms over, but still,
There might be a language barrier that might kind of block some of those words. Maybe the slang will get away, I don't know.
She speaks English, but still...
I demand fast internet in a PC!
Bring me one now!
I am American, so I shouldn't have to wait.
Only cheeseburgers and Wi-Fi please me.
Yes, but I want them cooked by American hands. I do not trust your Netherlandness of it. You may put something odd that I do not understand onto my burger, that I demand to be made right.
Barbecue, not mayonnaise.
Yes.
They like mayo on everything over there.
I know, there's something weird about Europe with that kind of shit. It's like, and you thought mayo was popular in the U.S., and then... I don't know. So
mayo is one of the whitest things ever. So you go to the really white countries in Europe, it's like, no, we're doubling down here.
That must be what it is, because I remember when I saw Undercover Brother and they had that whole mayo joke in there, like the white people had it and then the black people liked hot sauce. I was like, shit, I guess I must be black then. As a kid, I was like, oh, it all starts to make sense now. I know what I am. I'm probably like Neil Patrick Harris's character in that movie. That's probably who I am. I might look really white, but obviously I'm meant to be here.
Well, not going on one of those things like I understand the struggle, but
No,
apparently going out looking at a family tree, I actually do got a little bit of like African American in me, apparently. So I don't fucking see it when I look in the mirror, but the family tree says, "Oh, really?" Okay.
But obviously, when the mayo is served and you say no, thank you, you understand.
You know you know what side it's coming from. Yeah.
Oh, but no, I bet you the Netherlands will be fun. I bet you that'll be experience itself. You'll probably slay all kinds of demons over there.
That's the plan. Yeah, or trolls or whatever they got. I'll have to double.
Whatever, fucking goats under the bridge or some shit. That might be Danish. I mean, I guess the goats aren't on the bridge. The goats are on the bridge. There's a troll in the bridge.
The trolls. That's not Dutch. I think that's like isn't that like a Swedish thing or something?
I was gonna say I thought it was Danish or something like that.
Danish or some shit. Yeah, I'm sure my girlfriend's gonna hear this. Like, God, learn your Dutch shit. Like, all right, sorry.
Go visit the Little Mermaid
shit
when you're over there. That's Danish too. Well, shit.
She's like, I learned all this DC shit you're always talking about. You can't learn one fucking Dutch thing. I got something. I'm gonna leave the audience with something. The only thing I think I'm gonna need to know when I get to the Netherlands. Ik wil een banaan.
I want a banana.
Yeah, did I tell you that already?
You did. But I did guess it last time too because it just sounded like banana.
Yeah, ik wil een banaan. Or so I want.
Well, you gotta be careful where you say that though, because there might be some hobo guys like, "Well, yeah, come follow me behind the alley over here," and just fucking like whips his dick out.
Plus, going to Amsterdam, that could have another meaning too. So they're very open over there.
Yeah.
Then there's also, I guess I could just be more strict. I think the more American way to say it is ik wil banaan, which is I want banana, not a banana. I want banana.
I want banana. Damn it! Here now. Well, whatever. I think you should just dress up like you're from the 1600s, like ready to conquer a country, and just go over there with a fucking hat with a feather in it and shit. Like pretty much the most non-American looking outfit you could have. Really, you look like you're very European at this point, but for some reason it just kind of works in a weird way.
I think just double down on the Americanness. Like go in there wearing a Superman t-shirt,
a George Washington hat.
George Washington hat. No. It has like a hat that you see like a Walmart for like $3. It has like a bald eagle with like an M16 behind it, swooping in or some shit,
shooting out from behind.
Yeah, then I have like my shirt tucked in. I got an American flag belt buckle. Maybe a tucked in like blue jeans bought at Walmart, tucked into cowboy boots. Maybe just go full tilt so they know who they're fucking with.
Well, you could go full cowboy, or I feel you could go full old school American.
Not cool. It's not full tilt cowboy.
No, that's true.
You're wearing you're wearing the Superman t-shirt, and I feel like Captain America's a little too on the nose.
Yeah, exactly. That is true. Maybe what you got is you get like a shirt that's got like a fighter jet on it or something like that, like an F-16 or some shit.
It has a Navy SEAL on it, hunched down with a gun. It says like ready to go.
Just says get off my land.
Has like a lightning bolt behind it, and it has like those are like the super patriotic shirts. Those are always worn by people that look like they've never fucking served. It's like something like like it has like an eagle flying through the air, lightning firing behind it, and you see like a soldier saluting, some shit like that. And then for some reason there's kind of like it's tie-dye, but the same team. It's kind of camo tie-dye kind of look. Like, it's always worn by some fat fuck who looks like he eats at McDonald's every day.
Yeah, he's one of those armchair warriors.
Yeah, like you're gonna question the United States. Well, you were back in 2008. That's because it was ran by Obama. Like, oh god damn it.
He's the kind of guy.
Different.
He buys beer when it says like a nickel of it goes to your troops. Goddamn right, I'm doing my job. Support the cause. But yeah.
I watched the O'Reilly Factor back when it was on. Once they bring it back, this country will be right again.
Yeah, that's the whole reason it turned turncoat on us, because the O'Reilly Factor disappeared. But no, you'll go over to the Netherlands. You'll show them what America's all about. I mean, you represent America when you go there.
I'll be the first one. Like, he is the one. He's the American. The only one that comes here.
You'll be like Neil Armstrong going to the moon. You represent America when you land up there. But beyond that, check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comic books, music, movies, and all that fun stuff. Grab some Pizza Boys while you're at it. And then I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
We'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks again for listening to the Old Man Orange Podcast. Sure, check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, animation, and a whole lot more. We also have the Old Man Orange blog going with all kinds of fun stuff. If you easily want to support the show, use one of our Amazon links either on the website or in the description of the podcast below. Rate, review, and subscribe to the show either on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Newgrounds, or anywhere else that you seem to get this podcast from. Grab the sitcom-styled comic book Pizza Boys on either Comix Central, Comixology, or Amazon. Want more podcasts? Check out the Indie Comics Club over at Comix Central. I also got a workout website called Thor's Hidden Gym, filled with fitness tips and tricks, videos, and a whole lot more fun stuff in the calisthenics world. Talk to us on Twitter at Spencer S. Holmes and Dunigan Ryan. Like our Facebook pages of Old Man Orange Productions and Pizza Boys Comic. Thanks again. We're out of here.